Hello, welcome to the Wolf's Lair. I am Fenris, and this is the story of the lone wolf. My father is Loki, the nihilistic trickster god. And my mother is the giantess, Angabodtha, or she who bodes anguish. I am the youngest of 3 children. My older brother is Jormungand, the giant serpent of Midgard, who encircles the world and all the oceans. My older sister is Hel, the goddess of the underworld. The gods had terrible forebodings concerning the destiny of us 3 siblings. And they were absolutely correct. Jormungand will kill the god Thor during Ragnarok, the end of the great mythical cycle. An event which would be largely brought about by Hel's refusal to release the radiant god Balder from the underworld. During these cataclysmic events, I will devour the moon, the sun, and Odin, the chief of the gods. In order to keep us monsters at bay, they threw Jormungand into the ocean, where he encircled Midgard, the world of humankind. Hel they relegated to the underworld. I, however, inspired too much fear in them for them to let me out from under their watchful eyes, so they reared the pup themselves in their stronghold, Asgard. Only Ty, the indefatigable upholder of law and honor, dared to approach, and to feed me. I grew at an alarming rate, however, and soon the gods decided that my stay in Asgard had to be temporary. Knowing well how much devastation I would cause if I were allowed to roam free, the gods attempted to bind me with various chains. They were able to gain the wolf's consent by telling me that these fetters were tests of my strength. And clapping and cheering when, with each new chain they presented to me, I broke free. At last, the gods sent a messenger down to Svartalfheim, the realm of the dwarfs. The dwarfs, being the most skilled craftspeople in the cosmos, were able to forge a chain whose strength couldn't be equaled. It was wrought from the sound of a cat's footsteps, the beard of a woman, the roots of mountains, the breath of a fish, and the spittle of a bird, in other words, things which don't exist, and against which it's therefore futile to struggle. Gleipnir, or open, was its name. When the gods presented me with the curiously light and supple Gleipnir, I suspected trickery, and refused to be bound with it unless one of the gods would lay his or her hand in my jaws as a pledge of good faith. None of the gods agreed, knowing that this would mean the loss of a hand and the breaking of an oath. At last, the brave Ty, for the good of all life, volunteered to fulfill my demand. And, sure enough, when I discovered that I was unable to escape from Gleipnir, I chomped off and swallowed Ty's hand. I, the fettered beast, was then transported to some suitably lonely and desolate place. The chain was tied to a boulder and a sword was placed in my jaws to hold them open. And what is exactly Ragnarok, you say? It is the doom of the gods. Ominous prophecies and dreams have long foretold the downfall of the cosmos and of its gods and goddesses along with it. When the first of these prophecies events come to pass, the beloved god Balder will be killed by Loki and consigned to the underworld. The gods will have to face the fact they can no longer escape their tragic destiny. They prepare as well as they can. Odin takes a great deal of time and care, selecting the ablest human warriors to join him in the final battle against the world-devouring giants. But, deep down, they knew that all their desperate actions will be in vain. In Midgard, the realm of human civilization, people will abandon their traditional ways, disregard the bonds of kinship, and sink into a wayward, listless nihilism. The gods aren't exactly innocent of these same charges, however. They have broken oaths and fallen short of their expectations of one another on many occasions. 3 winters will come in a row, with no summer in between. A plodding, devastating season of darkness and frigidity which the prophecies have called the Fimbul Winter, or the Great Winter. At last, Loki and me, his son, the dreaded wolf Fenris, who have both been chained up to prevent us from wreaking further destruction in the 9 worlds, will break free of our fetters and set about doing precisely what the gods who had imprisoned us had feared. Yggdrasil, the great world tree that holds the 9 worlds in its branches and roots, will begin to tremble. The far-seeing Heimdall, the watchman of the gods' fortress, Asgard, will be the first to spy a vast army of giants headed for the celestial stronghold. Among the gruesome mass are the gods' fickle friend, Loki, at the helm of the ship Naglfar, ship of the dead. Heimdall will sound his Gjalla horn, or resounding horn, to alert the gods, who will no doubt be alarmed and despaired. The giants set about destroying the abode of the gods and the entire cosmos along with it. I, Fenris, the great wolf, will run across the land with my lower jaw on the ground and my upper jaw in the sky, consuming everything in between. Even the sun and the moon will be dragged from their heights and into my stomach. Surt, a giant bearing a flaming sword, will sweep across the earth, and leave nothing but an inferno in his wake. But, like the heroes of a Greek tragedy, the gods will fight valiantly to the end. Thor, and the sea serpent Jormungand will slay each other, as will Surt and the god Freyr, and likewise Heimdall and Loki. Odin and Ty will both fall to me, but Vidar, Odin's son and avenger, will in turn be my bane. At last, in the ultimate reversal of the original process of creation, the ravaged land will sink back into the sea and vanish below the waves. The perfect darkness and silence of the anti-cosmic void, Gnonga Gap, reigns once more. But this age of death and repose will not last forever. Soon the earth will once again rise from the ocean. Balder returns from the underworld, and the gladdened land becomes more lush and fruitful than it had been since it was created the previous time. A new human pair, Leaf and Leifthrusi, the equivalents of Ask and Embla, or Adam and Eve, awakens in the green world. The gods, too, returns and resumes their merrymaking. But I want to give you some insights into the twilight of the gods. While some scholars have attempted to portray Ragnarok as being much like the Christian end times, where the world is destroyed once and for all and historical time is abolished, I have realized that the tale of Ragnarok conveys a very, very different message. Given that the accounts of the destruction of the world in the Old Norse primary sources are immediately followed by accounts of its recreation, the assertion that Ragnarok describes the end of linear history is completely unfounded. A more sensitive reading of the primary sources makes it obvious that what Ragnarok describes is a cyclical end of the world, after which follows a new creation, which will in turn be followed by another Ragnarok, and so on throughout eternity. In other words, creation and destruction are points at opposite ends of a circle, not points at opposite ends of a straight line. With this understanding, we can grasp this cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth, for which Norse mythology provides an archetype, and occurs at every scale of existence. The cycle of the seasons, of day and night, of the phases of the moon, of the life of any organism, and of the flourishing of life between mass extinctions. The twilight of the gods, in other words, expresses the meaning perceived within every physical twilight, every autumn, every waning moon, and every aging being. This, finally, is the heart of the world view of the Norse peoples. By imbuing existence with these sacred meanings, they sanctified all of existence, and, if they kept the proper mindset, lived their lives immersed in the sacred at every turn. They could say, along with William Blake, everything that lives are holy. Or as I like to say, nothing lasts, but nothing is lost.